All right, we are back, day 2 of the California Craft Beer Summit here in Sacramento, California. I am Chris Fernari, the editor of Brewbound, and to my right is Jim Woods, the founder of Woods Beer Company. Welcome to the live stream.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
So, fun story about Jim. He is one of the first people that I connected with in the beer industry way back in the day before I was with Brewbound. Got connected to him through a family member of mine, my cousin. And now here we are now. And he's been a good friend of mine for, almost a decade now. And the business,
it's been a while.
The business itself has changed, and your business has changed too.
It has.
At that time, it was Mate Vesa. You were selling 22-ounce bombers of yerba mate infused beer. You're still doing some yerba mate infused beer. But you've shifted and pivoted more to a brewpub retail model.
Yeah, retail model.
Maybe talk a little bit about that and what prompted that shift and how it's going so far.
Yeah, so I started in 2006 contract brewing. Not having a brick and mortar, selling, actually, the footprint grew up to 5 states, some Miller Coors distributors, some independent distributors, and was growing. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall at that time of where I thought the industry was headed and just how difficult it is to build a brand, when you're spreading out across a couple states. I mean, it was the model for the longest time, Jeremy from Hebrew, he was kind of like the leader of the, contract brewers, distributing in many states, and a lot of people sort of looked at his model and tried to follow in his footsteps, but it just got harder and harder with everybody wanting local beer, the proliferation of more breweries. People had a lot more options, and they said, well, I'm just going to buy beer from the brewery down the street.
Yeah.
So it made it ever more important to own your local market. So 2012, we opened up Cerveceria, where we showcased Mate Vesa, my beer with yerba mate, but we also brewed a lot of other unique small batch creations. And I saw the response, and I made more of an impact in 6 months of having that open than I did in the previous 6 years of contract brewing. So it was very eye-opening, and I said, I can just keep on doing the retail thing. It's a lot more fun. You get to really connect with the customers and give a more complete picture of what the brand's all about.
And Cerveceria truly is small batch production.
Yeah.
It's not even is it a barrel? 1 barrel brewery?
20 gallons.
20 gallon, okay.
Yeah, glorified home brewing over there. Yeah.
And you're doing empanadas, and you're serving all the small batch beer that's made on site over the bar. And then you went from that one location, you've expanded now into 4 additional locations, correct?
4 additional, so 5 total, and now we have all of our production in-house out of our brewery on Treasure Island, a 15-barrel system with 30-barrel fermenters, and it's a great little closed system we have, hub and spoke, where we're brewing all the beer, and we can pretty much serve it all across our bars, which is great for margins. But we are dipping our toe in the water a little bit for distribution. It's not the primary focus of our model, but it's nice to be able to sell some beer out there and let people know what we're up to.
Now, are you guys selling the beer, or are you going through a wholesaler?
We're doing by ourselves. We're self-distributing.
And do you expect that to continue for sort of the long term? Or
I do at the level. I mean, we're definitely high spotting right now. We want to have a really streamlined delivery route, where we're going to all of our own locations, and maybe there's a few in the area, or so we're really being mindful about pursuing fixed handles. Does that even exist anymore? I don't know. Is that a thing?
You'd be the one that would be able to tell me. I don't know. It's Rotation Nation.
Yeah, it's a lot of rotators, but we're basically like, if there's a restaurant that's down the street from one of our locations, and we really like the people and know them well, and they're behind what we're doing, then hey, let's put a handle up. And but yeah, if it's like, hey, there's this beer bar that has 24 taps and rotates 5 gallons, they're nowhere near our delivery route, and we would kind of get lost there. I mean, we're brewing on 15-barrel batches, but we don't have a ton to play with. So every drop is precious.
That actually brings up a sort of interesting line of thinking about, assessing opportunity and deciding, what opportunities are best for your business. So
Yeah.
when opportunities come your way, how do you decide to say yes to them, and how do you decide to say no to them?
Well, I think of what my skills are as a leader with the company, and I think what I had a commercial real estate background, so sourcing new locations, understanding the fundamentals of real estate, and knowing where we're going to be successful is something that I'm good at, I think, and so I think that's the highest and best use of my time. And so if we have these distribution opportunities or retail opportunities for off-premise, unless it's perfect, it's not really worth my time, because it means that I can't be focusing on the things that I'm good at.
Right.
And I think that there's still a lot of opportunity for retail and for us to have additional locations. So that's where my focus is.
So do you guys plan to announce anytime soon, or is that just, you're going to continue pursuing a retail focused model, and as opportunities come your way, you'll look at them, and if it makes sense, you go after it?
Yeah. I mean, we're not looking as actively as we have in the past. We've been kind of focusing on our existing locations or operations. We actually just started making wine this year. We have a Type 2 license. So we serve a lot of natural wine, and so we figured across our 5 locations, might as well make it ourselves.
Yeah.
We've been doing the Divine Origins project, where we do spontaneously fermented grape must with native yeast that then ferments beer that we knock out on top of it. So that was kind of the natural progression of that. But just there's no reason why we can't push the sales of each of our existing locations and maximize what we're doing there in terms of customer experience and getting our message out there. So that's been the primary focus over the last probably 6 months. I think maybe later this year I'll look more actively at new projects. But another thing is, I'm not as excited about, cookie cutter, hey, let's just take this location and duplicate it in this neighborhood. I think, as demonstrated by our Treasure Island location, like
Right.
that place, I mean, we were just like, hey, is anybody going to come to this? We just dumped it. It's a giant sandbox on Treasure Island where, great views, but there wasn't really a precedent for it. But what I think drew us to it was the rich history of the island, how close it is to everything, and how unique the model was. Nobody else is doing this, and that's what's fun for us.
It also is a nice place to stop if you're going from your Berkeley location
Oakland, yeah.
or your Oakland location over to your San Francisco location.
Very centrally located for deliveries, and absolutely. It's like right in the middle of everything for us. So.
Yeah, it literally is.
Well.
Yeah, right in the middle. You got to cross the bridge, and it's there.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we'll look at more retail opportunities, but we still want to be creative. We don't want to just duplicate what we've done. We want new challenges, and
Now, we had Chris Kramer kicking this program off yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a heavy retail focus. I think 11 locations for them now. 10 of them being
CCBA board member as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he actually touched on briefly just sort of the rising cost of living here, some of the labor issues that with regards to tipping and wages.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on kind of how all that's developing, and what kind of impact it's having on your retail-focused model?
Well, the high cost of having employees has contributed to our model where we don't have a lot of back of house. A lot of our locations you can run with one person. We're doing some limited food prep, empanadas, and now some pizza. But having a full kitchen staff, I mean, it's really hard to make it work unless you're really good at it. He's really good at it. But, it's a very complex model where if you change the wage you're paying everybody, that can throw things out of whack and make it not profitable. So he's pretty, keyed into the challenges there. And I know his work with the Restaurant Association, that's top of mind for everybody. But yeah, I mean, cost of living, it's a daily struggle for us. How do we find people that are able to live in San Francisco that are making bartender wages. It's really difficult. I mean, the turnover recently has been really, really challenging. But
Turnover in general, or turnover just at Woods?
In our bartenders, it has been challenging. A lot of people have left San Francisco looking for cheaper places to live, but we've actually been hiring some really great people. It's just it's tough to get them trained, and yeah. So there's still like really quality people, but it's becoming less of, hey, I'm going to settle down here and build a life in San Francisco, and more of, hey, I got my 2-year stint in San Francisco. I'm going to have a lot of fun, and then I'm going to, move to Portland or move to Los Angeles. It seems like a lot of people are moving to LA.
Yeah.
Cost of living in San Francisco versus Los Angeles is very different these days. So, yeah, it's a challenge. I don't know what the answer is.
Is there a solution long term? I mean, it seems like at some point, the more that tech continues to grow in Silicon Valley and in San Francisco,
Yep.
and the more that people continue to get pushed out, you risk losing, wonderful restaurant businesses and brewery tap rooms and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked previously about how I respect some of these, tech leaders that are choosing not to provide a lot of amenities in their spaces, and they're encouraging their employees to go out and be part of the community and buy their lunch or their beer outside. I think that that's really admirable. I think it's better for everybody too, and everybody feels more connected as opposed to having all these bubbles everywhere.
Fresh air is nice.
Fresh air is nice, yeah. Vitamin D. But yeah, so I don't know. It's challenging. I think I don't have the answers, but I feel like we've got a pretty tight, efficient business model where we can react, and we're insulated against a lot of those issues. But I sympathize with people like Chris that have a really big staff. I don't know. My staff across 5 locations is probably less than his staff at one of his locations.
Sure.
So it's a different thing that he's looking at, and I'm very sympathetic. I don't know what the answer is. I haven't really seen any studies. Was it Washington that has the tip credit? Is a good example. What does that look like? What does it do to a market to have that tip credit? How does it help the health of the service industry jobs? I haven't seen that, but I think it would be interesting to understand that, especially as we see the $15 minimum wage getting implemented across many cities in California.
Yeah. Well, for Woods in 2018, what are you guys looking at in terms of production, and how much beer are you going to sell over your own bar at all 5 locations?
I would say 2018, probably 2,000 barrels. Okay. I would say 95% of it across the counter.
Wow.
Which is great for us.
Great margins?
Yeah, great margins. And then, in our current brewery at Treasure Island, we could probably pump maybe a little bit more out of there, but we don't really have to, which is really nice. So we're at that level. We're at a sustainable, profitable level that we can keep on trucking. So, yeah, no big plans to expand distribution. I mean, we will put some beer out there, as I said previously, but it's not the primary focus.
Awesome. Well, best of luck to you
Thanks,
in the future.
Yeah.
And if you guys make it to San Francisco or the Bay Area, check out Woods Beer.
Yeah.
Go to the Cerveceria. I think there's, 10 seats in there or something
Yep.
like that. So if you're lucky enough to get a seat, have an empanada, have a beer, say hello to Jim and his staff, and hopefully I get to do that soon too.
Cool. Yeah, and good luck today. I know you got a long day ahead of you.
5 hours of live streaming,
My
baby.
advice is to switch hands so that you don't get an overdeveloped right bicep.
Well, yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll come by and remind you if I
our
see
video
you,
guys don't like it when I switch hands.
Yeah.
But come back in an hour.
Yeah.
It's in my left hand.
Okay.
You infiltrated my brain.
I'll throw something at you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jim.